Howdy gamers, in this video I'm going to be going over why to run the runes that are good on Xin Zhao jungle. I don't think it's really worth mentioning Xin Zhao in like a solo lane as his primary role is jungle. So the keystones that are good for Xin Zhao are ones that give him damage in one way or another, as that's what most keystones do, but utility for Xin Zhao really does go to waste, as all the champion really excels at is ganking or attacking the enemy jungler. And runes that help him do so are what's going to give you the most success on him. And the runes that help him do that are Hella Blades and Conqueror. Something like Press the Attack isn't as useful because it's more about getting your burst off and then just killing the champion outright with Hella Blades versus Press the Attack. And then with Conqueror, the benefit of it is so that whenever you're skirmishing, then the bonus AD built up from it becomes more useful than the bonus damage you could have from Press the Attack or the exposed damage in the if there was a 2v2, as Xin Zhao is a champion that once he's on top of someone, it really needs to work out for him. And both of these keystones help that whole cause, as they give him more damage or more sustained damage over time. Other rune options that maybe you could look to run would be like Electrocute or maybe Phase Rush. My problem with Phase Rush is that even if you have extra movement speed, I don't see it really doing anything in most matchups, because if you're in a bad matchup, I don't think Phase Rush is really going to make the difference for you to stay on top of a target versus just having Nimbus Cloak alone, as that helps you stay on any target regardless of the champion, versus Phase Rush where it's like, yes, you could get past a target that you initially engage on, but the benefit of doing so isn't really that much, as Xin Zhao doesn't have that much sustained damage afterwards. So starting off with Hella Blades, I think it's your best bet with Xin Zhao, as it's going to empower your ganks and your skirmishing, but mostly just your ganks, as with Hella Blades, you gain 110% attack speed whenever you attack an enemy champion for up to 3 attacks. So that's going to make it so that whenever you gank, you're going to get your Q off, basically. And if the enemy doesn't flash your initial E into 3 autos, then they are really just going to die most likely. Or you're going to deal a lot of damage to them before you exit the gank altogether. So it's a really good option for ganking. With Conquer, your basic attacks and spells build up stacks of Conquer. The stacks of Conquer give you bonus AD, and then also once the Conquer is fully stacked, you heal for 15% of the damage that you deal. So this gives you an option in which you build up attack damage, and then once you have it built up, then you're just simply outputting more damage on the enemy champion. So against targets that you're not going to kill in just one rotation with Hella Blades, Conquer is going to be a better option. And whenever you're fighting the enemy jungler, it's probably going to be a better option because you can keep it going for so long versus just having the burst from Hella Blades. So in a 2v2 or a really extended 1v1 in the jungle, which can happen a lot, Conquer is probably going to be your best bet. But back to Hella Blades. Hella Blades is better for ganking because of the burst that it offers and getting the 3 auto attacks off faster, which is just more damage, and then being able to get the knockup with Xin Zhao's Q, which usually secures a kill. So with Hella Blades, you gain 110% attack speed whenever you attack an enemy champion for 3 times. And then the cooldown of it is only 8 seconds out of combat. So really doesn't have a cooldown. Even if you fight and then dip out of the fight for a brief period, then you're still going to be able to come back and then have Hella Blades up again, so long that you're playing around the 8-second cooldown. But where Xin Zhao's basic abilities are on that much of a cooldown anyways, it synergizes pretty well with how you would play things out anyways. For the secondary runes, Sudden Impact is going to be your best bet. Sudden Impact acting as like a minor keystone in terms of the damage that it gives you. With Sudden Impact, after you exit stealth, use a dash, sleep, blink, or teleport. Dealing any damage to an enemy champion grants you 7 lethality and 6 magic penetration for 5 seconds. So anytime you would dash onto a target, the 7 lethality is just going to be empowering your auto attacks, and then also the rest of the damage that you're dealing with your abilities. The magic penetration can be useful with your E, but it's mostly just about the lethality that's offered, and then the burst damage that also comes with Sudden Impact. Where it's on a 4-second cooldown as well, you could get it off twice during a fight, but it's mostly just about the initial damage that you deal whenever you're using it. For the third rune, I think Eyeball Collection is going to be your best bet. Out of all 3 of these, you're choosing how you build up the bonus attack damage offer from them. Zombie Ward, you get it through clearing wards. Ghost Pour, you get it through placing wards. And Eyeball Collection, you get it through getting kills and assist. With Xin Zhao, again, all you're really good at is ganking and invading. So Eyeball Collection is pretty solid, as you're able to get kills and assists pretty consistently. And if you're not, you're losing anyway. So it's a nice reward. And if you're losing, then this rune doesn't do anything. But to use something like Zombie Ward, Xin Zhao just isn't a champion that really would be going around the map just to clear wards, as he wants the gank to work out almost no matter what. For the 4th rune, I think Relentless Hunter is your best bet. You don't need healing from abilities. You don't need the ultimate cooldown reduction. The out of combat movement speed is going to help you whenever you're approaching for ganks, so it helps you flank behind the lane faster, which is how you're going to get most ganks off, and it just helps you move around the map a lot faster. Relentless Hunter is based off the Bounty Hunter stack, so every time you get a unique kill or assist, you just get more out of combat movement speed, so it's just a nice bonus that's part of the rune. For the secondary runes, if you're running Halo Blades, I think that Sorcery is going to be your best bet with Nimbus Cloak and then Water Walking. To have something like Precision Second, I don't think is that useful, as even though you could have attack speed and a little bit of healing, I think the utility in the movement speed offered from Sorcery is going to be beating that. As if you're staying on a target, you're probably just winning more often than not. With Nimbus Cloak, after you cast a summer spell, you gain a movement speed increase that lasts for 2.5 seconds and allows you to pass through units. So whenever you smite a target, you're getting more movement speed to stay on them, and then whenever you flash, you're getting more movement speed to stay on the target. So they're not getting away, basically. Especially whenever you're ganking side lanes, so top or bot lane, Nimbus Cloak really, really helps because it's a longer lane, and running them down can be a problem, especially if you don't use the E correctly, or if they flash away, even if you are playing correctly. So the utility in Nimbus Cloak is really, really solid, especially after you spend your E on Xin Zhao. With Water Walking, it gives you 25 movement speed in the river, and then also gives you Adaptive Force whenever you're in the river based on your level, but it's mostly about that movement speed. The movement speed is going to help you, obviously, whenever you're fighting for Scuttle Crab or playing around objectives, but it's mostly just for the movement speed to get into the enemy jungle or get into a lane, as if you have more movement speed through the river, you have more movement speed to just be in position to gank faster, and then that inevitably makes the gank more successful. So I think both of these is going to be beating Precision almost every single time. The stats offered in Precision in the effective HP and Triumph, where you get 12% of your missing health back on a kill or assist, and then a little bit of attack speed from Alacrity, these stats aren't bad for Xin Zhao. But playing Xin Zhao in the jungle, where so much of your utility comes through ganking and skirmishing, Nimbus Cloak and Water Walking achieves both of those so much better. So that's my thoughts on that. I really don't see it being having any value out of Precision in the jungle role, in the way that you're trying to play Xin Zhao in most cases. If you're skirmishing, like, I suppose Last Stand and Triumph would be okay, but like not really, as Nimbus Cloak staying on them is probably winning you more fights anyways. Inspiration's interesting. Like, it's really a cheese option for a higher MMR where you can have Hextech Flash. It lets you invade the enemy jungle a lot better, as you can get in, flash on the enemy jungle, kill them, and then Hextech Flash out of their jungle. People really don't expect that as Xin Zhao, and then you're basically out-pathing them at that point in terms of like them trying to respond to a fight and then you just not being in positions that they're expecting. And then if you're running Hextech Flash in the Inspiration tree, you could also run Cosmic Insight or Approach Velocity, I suppose, but probably just Cosmic Insight. Futures Market is okay, but for Xin Zhao, there's not really many items for him to get early other than boots through the Futures Market. So I suppose if you're really playing to cheese and invade, Futures Market, Hextech Flash. If you're trying to use Hextech Flash for utility around objectives, then I suppose Cosmic Insight's better, as you're going to have your actual flash up sooner and then also be able to get the second rotation of your basic abilities off a bit sooner. But Cosmic Insight really isn't that useful for Xin Zhao. And again, Hextech Flash is really, really cheesy and mostly for invading or fighting around objectives. So don't recommend you run that, but it is a good option for Xin Zhao at higher MMRs, as you do things that people just don't expect. And given the nature of that champion at higher MMRs, you might as well be running something like that. But in solo queue and at lower MMRs or even high MMRs, I think Nimbus Cloak and Water Walking is just your better bet. It just plays out so naturally with how Xin Zhao functions. For the shards, it's going to be attack speed, attack damage, and then armor. Even if you're in an AP matchup in the jungle, I think Xin Zhao wants the armor, as his early clears are really, really bad. And when you're ganking, you're probably taking physical damage from the minions, the enemy champion's auto attacks, and then maybe a turret shot. So armor helps negate all of that versus the magic resist only helping you against Gromp and then other magic damage from the enemy champions. Xin Zhao also has easy itemization into Hex Drinker, so when you're against those matchups, I think you're better achieving the magic resist through the itemization than you would be through the runes. So that's that for the Hella Blades page. Offers you better ganking and then also just more burst. For Conquer, you end up in the precision tree. Again, Conquer, your basic attacks and spells that deal damage to enemy champions grant you 2 stacks of Conquer for 6 seconds. That stacks up. The stacks give you bonus attack damage, and then whenever Conquer is fully stacked, you heal for 15% of the damage that you deal to enemy champions. So with that bonus AD offered from Conquer, you have these opportunities in which you can like 2v2 or 2v3 a lot easier than you otherwise would be able to. Conquer is better whenever you can play with your lanes. So like at higher MMRs in which you're playing matchups where you don't have gankable lanes, but the enemy's playing a weak jungler, champions like really rude champions in the jungle like Sylas and Diana, Xin Zhao can just go into their jungle and beat them down, and they don't have this ability to just free farm everything. And if they don't do that, Xin Zhao is just stronger than them early. So you can look to abuse that. And then with Conquer, even if their lanes are respawning, you still have this AD and a bit of healing that is effectively just HP to play with. So Conquer helps whenever you're skirmishing or invading, more so than Hella Blades would in most matchups. With Triumph, I think it's your best option, as Overheal is just not useful and you don't need the mana from Presence of Mind. So with Triumph, takedowns restore 12% of your missing health and grant you additional 20 gold. It's okay. It's not that useful, but where you're spending your HP initially, especially with Conquer, it does become more useful with this page, but it's there. It's nice. It's not that impactful. Whenever you get a kill or assist, the HP could save you like 10 times out of 100, but for Xin Zhao, I don't think it's really that much or that valuable. For the third rune, I think attack speed's your best bet. Even if you're playing into a lot of CC, for Xin Zhao, where you have your knock up, your W, and your E, and your ult, I don't think you really need Tenacity. If you're playing into like 4 tanks or like 4 CC champions, sure, take Legend Tenacity and build Merc Treads. So if you're playing into like Ornn, Zac, Nautilus, mid, Thresh, support, and then Callista, sure, take Legend Tenacity. But in most cases, I think Alacrity is going to be your best bet, as having more attack damage is so pivotal, especially with Conquer, as the attack speed is converting into more damage because of the AD built up from Conquer. And then that attack damage becomes more impactful, as once you're on top of someone, it needs to be pretty meaningful if you're running Conquer on Xin Zhao. So even if the enemy has CC, if you can still hit them as you're CC'd, it's probably fine. So like if you're rooted or, you know, snared, whatever. For the fourth rune, with Conquer, it's a weird toss-up, because with Coup de Grace, it's really good on Xin Zhao, but with Conquer in the playstyle, I think that Last Stand would have to make more sense, because you're probably spending your HP early, but the way Xin Zhao functions, I also could see how Coup de Grace could just be really good. With Coup de Grace, you deal 8% more damage to champions who have less than 40% health. With Last Stand, you deal 5 to 11% increased damage to champions while you are below 60% HP. So with Coup de Grace, I think it's completely fine, because Xin Zhao is still dishing out damage once you spent every single ability to build up Conquer, and then you have meaningful ways to use the 8% damage increase, whether it be through your W or through your auto attacks. So I think that's fine. And then to finish off a target with Conquer is pretty meaningful, as you're going to be spending your initial abilities to get them low, and then to finish them off, just it needs to happen, and Conquer helps that happen. With Last Stand, you deal 5 to 11% increased damage to champions while you are below 60% HP. So like the enemy has to turn onto you or start the fight altogether, and if that's happening, I think Xin Zhao is losing. Maybe there's matchups in which you would need Last Stand, but in general, I think Coup de Grace should be better. The Last Stand would also be better. It would be better in team fights probably, but by that time, if you're not winning on Xin Zhao anyways, it's probably doomed. And to get effectiveness out of Last Stand in a team fight, it's good, it's fine, but you don't have like, I just think Coup de Grace is better. But Last Stand isn't bad. And in general, Last Stand with Conquer is really good, but the way Xin Zhao functions, I think Coup de Grace is better, because you're just finishing off targets versus having more damage to multiple targets whenever you're low on HP, as other champions just do that better than Xin Zhao. For the secondary runes, I think you would stick with the same thing, Nimbus Cloak and Water Walking. in this case, water walking would be to get into the enemy jungle, and then Nimbus Cloak would be to stay on the target once you're attacking them. So versus running them down lanes and ganking. So yeah, other secondary runes just aren't as good. Something like Sudden Impact and Relentless Hunter. Like Relentless Hunter is like the super bad version of water walking for Xin Zhao, and then Sudden Impact, you just don't need this extra damage whenever you're running Conquer. You're building up your damage with Conquer, and Sudden Impact is for more burst. So it really just doesn't add up, and you need to be able to stay on the target, which Nimbus Cloak helps you do once you've started the fight with Conquer. So Nimbus Cloak and Conquer just have more synergy for that reason. And then you still have the option of Hextech Flash and then Futures Market, I suppose, but Nimbus Cloak Water Walking is just going to be better. So that's really all there is to Xin Zhao runes. You have the skirmishing option or you have the ganking option. I think the ganking option is going to be your best bet in most cases, as it's really what the champion excels at, and also probably just easier. You also have to have the right jungle matchup to actually invade them, and then if the skirmish doesn't work out, or if you have a losing lane, you lose that skirmish anyway, so that feels really bad. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I've never missed one, never not answered one. It will never happen ever. You can subscribe, it's free. You can check out my Twitch, it's twitch.tv/SorryNelson, links in the description. I know you will. And yeah, that's my thoughts on Xin Zhao runes. Hope this video helped you. Leave a like on the video, or else, man, it's a threat. Don't, like, I'll see you in solo queue. Bye, see ya.